Could be going for a referendum through the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020. Instead, the proposers of the BBI initiative are finding themselves in court trying to appeal a High Court landmark ruling that stopped the Constitution amending process. Which way, judicial lords and ladies? Will the courts drop the sword? Meanwhile, the Senate Legal Committee has approved Senator Kipchumba Murkomen's bill seeking to amend the Elections Act and remove a requirement for individuals vying for MCA and MP positions to have a degree. What does this mean to local leaders? Welcome to the show. You can just imagine what a packed show we have for this evening.
The president has the rights, like any other Kenyan, under Article 38 to participate in the political discourse, including to support or campaign for any cause.
Every stage in constitution making in Kenya, it's only when we came together, including politicians and presidents, that this process went ahead. And without it, it could not happen.
The president, like King Edward VIII, must remain the president. If he wants to engage in the affairs of other lesser mortals, then he must abdicate. There are no two options to this matter.
Unfortunately, for such an important institution of the state like IBC to be dragged into this business.
Of course, BBI is the big story, and tonight in studio we have Robert Alai, a renowned national blogger, but he insists he is a computer scientist, whistleblower, and a cyber activist. Alai will be in the ballot in next year's general elections. We also have Davidson Gibuini, also known as DNG. Again, he needs no introduction as he is one of the most recognizable faces in Kenya as a musician, media personality, actor, and an entrepreneur. But just like Alai, he has put his 2 feet in politics. Where will he be vying? He will be making the announcement on this show. And finally, we have a resident political analyst, Jim India from Emerging Leaders Foundation. Now, good ladies and fair gentlemen, we have officially opened our lines. What question do you have for the two leaders? Text us on 111 444 111 and on Twitter at Switch TV Kenya at Fred Mweterere. Let's get right into it, gentlemen. Karibuni sana. We start with you, Robert.
Yes.
Why now?
Why not now? I think this is the right time for especially the young leaders, the young emerging leaders to get into politics. It's so easy now. It's easy in that everybody is demanding that the younger people get into politics because they're tired of the old guys, the old narratives, the people who doesn't feel like they understand the issues of the common man. So I think it's the best time for me to get into politics, but also I've been very impatient looking at the leaders. Politics, I thought it was not for me. But looking at the leaders and trying to understand what they're trying to do to change lives, everything our leaders do are geared towards 2 things, either to steal money or to steal elections.
So you'll be a different leader.
That's what I want to be. It's very painful sometimes watching people suffer. You know, you go to some parts of the country, people can't even afford 50 bob in a whole month they can't get. You know, people are so poor and the pandemic has made it worse, but nobody is taking care of our people. Nobody is thinking of policies for 50 years to come.
Yes.
We are making roads to use today. We are using the policies we implement are for what we want to consume today. That's not how to run a country. We run a country by making policies which will serve future generations.
Davidson,
Yes.
people know you on this station. You are a big brand. You've made a name.
Thank you.
I was telling you the other day that we met the first time in 2010. You are an MC for a very big event, so you are known. Why would you let all that go and go for a political seat?
I think, Fred, for me, it's not letting it go, but adding on to it. Part of my journey has involved development. I started an initiative called Hustle Yako, maybe about 2015 thereabout. Got the first set of funding in 2017 to roll out big time. And Hustle Yako has been involved in youth empowerment, development, entrepreneurship, skills training. And, you know, as Robert has mentioned, matters like poverty can be solved. The perennial poverty and unemployment we see in this country have solutions. It's not rocket science, but the government of the day is just not interested in empowering the people who need this empowerment, the disenfranchised, the vulnerable in society, the youth. That is why, for me, I decided to vie. So apart from that initiative, I got involved into health as well. Every time we'd read about unwanted pregnancies, STIs, HIV/AIDS rates spiraling out of control with new infections being amongst adolescents. They do not have access to these health facilities. They do not have access to these contraceptives. Even the training, sensitization and advocacy is not being channeled that way. Look at what the Ministry of Health is focusing on. COVID-19 billionaires. And a ministry that could have perhaps put that resource into better practice and better use. So these kind of decisions are policy decisions that are made by people who are elected, because the work of lawmakers, be it in the county assemblies or in the National Assembly, is to make law, is to look at budgets and prioritize the expenditure of the day, whether it's in Nairobi or across the country. Apart from that, the kind of leadership and governance that we have in this country is selfish leadership, and I believe that it's time for a change. It's time for the change of guard. It's time for young people to take opportunities. So for everyone who's watching, who's youthful and who has ideas, the moment is now. As Alaya said, it's easier now, because we're in a very great democratic space. Yes, there are great attempts, like you've just mentioned, to curtail democracy, but it's possible. You can. We've seen precedents of young people without money going door to door, knocking on people's doors and selling their manifestos and telling them what they want to do, and it's worked. We've seen that.
All right, Jim, we've been in this situation talking about young people and leadership for a long time, but we have elected leaders before who are young, and we have seen them and the way they have performed, and especially in parliament. These young people want to go to the parliament, whichever parliament. Do you think these are the change agents that we want to see?
Fred, this is the time. And let me start by talking about why this is the time. It's because the numbers are right. Politics is about numbers, and politics is about, we do not get into politics for the sake of it. We get into politics because you want to get into power. Now, the youth constituency has never been consolidated. And the reason it's never been consolidated is because we've never had people who look like us, people who speak like us, people who use technology like we do get into elections, and who campaign using a language that we understand. And often those people who've been doing that have been on the periphery. Robert Alai has been on these trenches for a long time. He might be getting into politics active as an elected, but he's been around for a long time, actually supporting from the background. But young people should not do that, because it's about high time that we need to get there. Now, onto the question of, we've seen young people who've been elected and they've not performed. Tom Mboya was a young person at the age of 29 or so when he was in making policies that we are benefiting to today.
The parliament that we have. Let's just look at that.
If you look at the current parliament, I mean, Babu Wino, with all his other issues, if you go to his constituency, it is performing well. Ndindi Nyoro, if you go to his constituency, it is performing well. So we like to isolate. When it comes to people who are marginalized, like young people and women, we like to isolate and say, hey, these young people, we elected them, but they are not performing. Tell me about the older people who are performing. I can count for you the older people who've been here for decades, doing nothing for our people. Yet when young people attempt, even once, to get into parliament, because these young people do not have any experience, that experience, you get it on the job. You learn how to be a politician by being a politician. You learn how to lead by leading. So let us not say that the young people we have elected are not performing, and forget that we have some of them who are exemplary. If you saw the latest report on those who are performing well in parliament, there's a huge number of young people on that list. First-time members of parliament. Now imagine if you inject Robert Alai. Imagine if you inject DNG.
You're campaigning for them on my show. Robert, let me get back to you.
Yes.
Before I start the questions, you are vying.
Yes.
Which seat and where?
I'm vying for the MP of Nyando. Nyando is in Kisumu County. Yeah, so, you know, I've seen the challenges we have had as the people of Nyando. The perennial flooding, common year in, year out.
Yes.
It's a sugarcane growing area.
Yes.
Sugarcane is the only taxed raw material in this country.
Yes.
The funny thing is that Nyando has always elected somebody who has never grown sugarcane since he was born. So he doesn't understand the issues. We have the rice, Kitambo Aero irrigation scheme, which is in Nyando,
Yes.
was bigger than the Mwea.
Yes.
Now Aero is a fraction of Mwea. There's a problem of rice being, even if you harvest today, there's nowhere to sell it.
Yes.
And you find in some instances they're selling to Ugandans, raw rice, and they're selling to Ugandans, then Ugandans are going to process it there, then they bring it back to Kenya, which is very wrong. And some of the towns in Kisumu County grew because of rice milling. Ahero, Katito.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are vying with which ticket?
I'm vying with the ODM.
Why ODM?
Because ODM is the only party which has democracy in its DNA. Not
Robert,
its in DNG.
to you,
Yes.
in what you've just said on
Yes.
this show,
Yes.
that we have old-time narrative of old leaders
Yes.
who've been in power for
Yes.
such a long time,
Yes.
doing nothing.
Yes.
The ODM leader, Raila Odinga,
Yes.
has been in the business
Yes.
for so long.
Not
Are
doing-
you telling Raila Odinga that he's old and that's why
Raila
you
is
want
not
to come and take the
No,
money?
Raila is not the MP of Nyando, but Raila is also giving
He's the
time-
leader of Nyanza
ODM.
region.
No, he's not the
Even
leader of
Nyanza-
Nyanza. Raila has never vied in Nyanza, but he's the leader of ODM. Raila has always been an MP in Kibra, yeah, which is a cosmopolitan constituency. But let me tell you one thing with Raila. The fact that you can sit, criticize, and attack leadership of this country here, sometimes because of Raila. The kind of things they fought for, the kind of freedom we have now, is because of the big sacrifice of people like Raila.
You think it's time for him to retire?
The problem with politics is that you cannot tell people. You've seen in the US. You have Speaker Pelosi. How old is she? Some of them are too old.
Even
but
the president.
also, age comes with maturity, and that's why I say people like Ongeri, you cannot wish them away. I've never told any leader in
But
politics.
you've said they're old-time leaders.
No, I'm saying they're old, but people who are old and have no clue. But Raila, at least, there are people who are old, but they are wiser with age, like the old wine. Like Raila, without the handshake, you guys would have been in a mess.
We'll come back to that.
Yes.
DNG,
Yes, sir.
you are vying for a seat.
Correct.
This will come as a shocker to our viewers. Where are you vying and what position?
So I'm vying within the city of Nairobi, Nairobi County. I'm vying for MCA of Woodley
MCA.
Kenyatta Golf Course Ward.
MCA.
MCA, Member of County Assembly.
Davidson Gimbwini.
That is I.
DNG.
Yes.
MCA.
For the first time, you're hearing it tonight.
Why?
Why not? And that's the
An
question.
MCA. Robert, in an interview in, I think, 2015, he said,
Yes.
he was at KTN, and he
Yes.
said, MCA is a small position. And
No,
we asked-
I didn't say.
I have listened to that whole
No, no,
conversation.
no, no.
He said it's a small position.
I didn't say that.
Why go for an MCA?
I'd say this. First and foremost, all my agenda that has to do with community development is about the people. So in terms of how best to empower, impact, and change the scenario and the lifestyle of the people of Woodley and the people of Kibra as a constituency, it's by being on the ground, dealing with the issues that are being faced. Allow me to just articulate a little bit what is happening in our ward. Kibra is the largest slum in sub-Saharan Africa.
Believe me, I'm still trying to
so
just get your vying for an MCA.
Allow me to just take you there.
Yes.
For how long will Kibra remain the largest slum in sub-Saharan Africa? If you look at unemployment and poverty, it's at an all-time high, with a lot of people living in that area. How can we empower those people to rise up? How can we empower them to improve their livelihoods, to take their hustles to the next level, whether it is talent development, whether it is sports, whether it is businesses and setting up businesses? Because what happens in the mtaa is you set up a biashara today, tomorrow Kanjo comes and chotas it, wanakubomolea. You come up with another idea, for example, miraa. You're selling miraa. What are you told? There's a new bylaw that if you do not park miraa like this, you have X number of penalties or X months or years prison time. So the system, unfortunately, has been rigged to such a way that it is going to it's suppressing the people who are trying to do their level best to come out off the ground and live a life that is decent. All right. So the only way to change that is by legislation. some of these laws that you've seen trending about how draconian they are bylaws. What bylaws means for our viewers who are perhaps in shock to hear that DNG is vying for MCA are laws that are created
I'm
and
shocked.
conceptualized
Believe you me, I'm shocked.
at the county assembly level. So at forget even national or senate, huku chini hapo ndio pahali shida ipo. So we have to start bottom up. We cannot start saying that we're going to solve issues top layer, yet at the ground, the core, the foundation is faulty.
Bottom up, that sounds like
And
Uda.
the rot of the tooth is deep in the decay. You understand?
Yeah.
We must be able to uproot that problem and
Yes.
solve problems for our country. If we cannot solve the poverty issue in Kibra, how can we solve the poverty and unemployment issue in Kenya?
Hold
How?
still. Hold still. You are vying with which party?
I'm vying with UDA, United Democratic Alliance Party.
What are you hearing, Jim India? From ODM to ODA, young people.
Change.
What I'm hearing,
Yes.
Fred, is sometimes you want to be idealistic. We have tried the new constitution since the first election in 2013, and we know that there's something called, being an independent candidate, and we can count how many independent candidates are there.
Yes.
To get into, I said, nobody's getting into politics to play around. If young people are serious, they want to get into politics, we have to get into politics to win. Now, how do you win an election in this country? It is through the political party system. If you're vying in an area and you have mapped out, because part of what you do as a politician is you have to do your homework. If I look at my constituency, who are here? How do they vote? What patterns have we seen in the past? So that then, once you know that they vote for ODM, then throw your hat in and show that you get into nominations and show that you're on the ground and get to win. Because we do not expect that young people will come and form their own political parties. And
Why
go into
not?
power.
Why not?
Why not? It's because of the nature of our politics in this country. The nature of our politics is that it does not support new political parties that are not ethnic based. That is the nature of politics in our country.
So you're telling
And
a lie
so-
that he's vying with
No,
ODM
that is
because
not-
he's from Luo Nyanza?
That is not, no. Alai has given the reasons why he is vying. So I am not speaking for him. All I am saying is the nature of our politics is that majority of our parties are ethnic based,
Yep.
and most of the time they are tied around individuals.
Yes.
And so the individual, people concentrate a lot on who is the president, which party or coalition is they vying for, and people vote six-piece. In most of these places. There's a lot of education that we have to do among our voters to change that.
Yes.
But until then, if you want to inject fresh ideas, if you want to inject fresh people, then we have to find a way of beating the very system that has sidelined young people for a long time. And to beat it, you have to get into it, invest it, get in by your numbers, then change it from within.
Robert, you've said that this is the time.
Yes.
And we have seen with the numbers from the last census that we heard, that we had 70% young people. And you're right, this is the right time. Why can't you just mobilize young people to form a coalition that not only will it go to the national polls with a presidential aspirant and just mobilize as many young people to follow you rather than just joining a party that is established?
I think
Because they've been there. They've been there for such a long time.
I think the problem in Kenya is very deep. It's not as easy as we think. And you know, the young people in this country, sometimes it's not very easy to mobilize, and you know, funding a presidential campaign is very expensive. It takes a lot of resources, a lot of logistics experience, you know, so you might try it now, but they're going to beat you with experience. So the best strategy is to have a bite at a time. You're fighting elephants. So if you're fighting elephants and you are like, a rat, the best, a nimble at a time. Every bite you have counts as a success. So the best is, when I see people like DNG going for the MCA, you know, starting from the grassroots, I never say the MCA is a very, in fact, if it was for me, if it was for me,
Yes.
I would have gone for the MCA. The only thing is that I've mapped out the problems of my constituency. Public service is not for making money. If I wanted to look for money, I would go for the private service. Public service is for service to people. And the people's problems are what I'm going to solve. Are the people's problems.
Don't you feel that you're going to be assimilated into the ideologies of ODM?
I don't think
be merged in and not make any difference.
I think there's no ways of ODM. You would talk about that the ways of ODM. There's no way. The ways of ODM. In fact, ODM. If you check on the parties, the parties in this country, ODM is one of the best parties you can ever. You know, if you are going to look
In
for
what
political, democratically, organization-wise, logistics, they're going to, but for any party, tell me which party has existed even from the 205 up to now. Very few of them would stand that. ODM have structures. You know, if you're going to look for the legal committees, you're going to look for NEC, you're going to look for officials of the party, you're going to look for office staff. ODM has even its own headquarters, which has been there for very long. They even bought their own headquarters recently. You know, some of these parties are briefcase parties, including some of the parties we are seeing, which are commanding big numbers here. They don't have clear lines of who is in charge and who is not in charge. You've seen the mess in Jubilee. Now you see there's some members of Jubilee are opposition in UDA. You know, the challenge of political parties. But ODM comes in with the experience and nurturing young people. Some of the members of UDA and Jubilee are in their positions because of ODM. ODM nurtured them. ODM mentored them. They were behind the think tank of ODM. So I think political parties are not all bad.
Davidson.
Yes.
You are vying with UDA. UDA is led by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. He's been the Deputy President for now close to 8 years. Why would you want to bring changes while the people you are with, they're already in government?
What I'd say is that, first and foremost, public service, as Alai has just mentioned, has to do with the people. So first, we also have to understand, what do the people want? The people, majority, want change. The people, majority, want to be able to earn a living. The people, majority, do not want to have their country locked. They want to be able to earn, despite or regardless of whatever profession you're in, whether you're a barber or you're an artist or you're digital executive or you're a strategist, you want to be able to earn. So what UDA represents is inclusion or inclusivity, meaning that it's a party for everybody. UDA is a party that is not mapped according to tribal formation. It's a party that is about an agenda, and the agenda is the uplifting of the
Why
common.
can't that agenda be in government today? Because they're in government.
Well, I cannot
Deputy
speak.
President is in government. It's your party.
Indeed, it is.
It's your party.
But Fred, I cannot speak for a position that I've never held. I wish I was perhaps the president of the Republic of Kenya. No. You see, perhaps I can organize an interview for you and the deputy president and our party leader to come and articulate his agenda and follow him. And what we know is that they're putting together a big document called the Bottom-Up Economics. Allow me to just give you an example of what I have seen on ground.
In less than 1 minute.
Yes, I've been part of what is happening in Kiambaa. You know there's a by-election. For the first time, I've witnessed campaigns that are not about hate, that are not about division, that are not about violence, and that are not about shika hii 500 na unipatie kura yako ili nikuwe mbunge. For the first time, campaigns are about an agenda. Wale watu wa soko, wale watu wa mtura, wale watu wa boda boda. How can we improve their livelihoods? That's what I stand for. When I started Hustle Yako Initiative, years before UDA, that's what I've been driving. If you look at my track record, it's all about how can we bring artists to the table? How can we bring talented creatives and innovations to the table such that young people can use their skill sets, God-given gifts and talents to earn a living? That is what we stand for at UDA. And that is what we want to enforce in government, because we cannot bring this change outside of government, as has been rightfully said here. Change is determined by the people who sit on the table and say, this is where we are prioritizing our resources. As a country, these are our pillars, this is our agenda. And youth have never been in the agenda, and we have no representation.
Jim, you have mentioned here on this show that the deputy president is in government, but he's leading a team that looks like is opposing the same government. What ideologies are we setting for young people when people like DNG are joining that same party that looks like is fighting their president?
Fred, I've often said, and I maintain, that the deputy president is a ghost worker in government because he's earning but not turning up to work. So we are paying someone to occupy an office which he's not executing what he's paid for. And that I maintain.
True.
However, we must run away from this attempt to paint the scenes of presidents and their deputies and people who've been here forever. We must delineate that, because part of the struggle that young people have is, how do I separate myself from the accusations that are going on around my president or my deputy president? If today we are going to say that we will not vote for DNG because the deputy president has certain allegations against him, so which allegations do we have against DNG?
He's the son of that family.
No,
The
he's
family
not.
of Huda.
You see,
And the father is the deputy president.
we have started at the premise of, to
Yes.
get into power,
Yes.
we must use vehicles which are called political parties.
All right.
To choose a political party,
Yes.
you must choose one that looks like it has a mathematical chance of winning an election.
Short commercial break. I'm having, of course, Jim India speaking to us about matters politics. Robert Alai, he'll be vying for Nyando MP, and of course, DNG. He'll be vying for an MC. That is like breaking news. We'll take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more in a short while.
Let us leave the criminal justice system out of the politics of Kenya. Those who have ideas, let them bring their ideas to the people.
But today, any politician or any political leader who is seen to be inclining towards the deputy president is being persecuted and prosecuted by DCI EACC, DPP, and all state agencies, including our business community, who are being persecuted by KRA simply because they work with the deputy president.
Ukiwa utaambiwa uende uone EACC, DCI, sijui wapi, nani, yasikupe shida. Tulipitia hayo yote, ndio maana tunakwambia tulipitia hayo yote. Na kile kikubwa watakwambia ndio ujue vile wenzangu wamesema. There is no way hawa watu wataenda kusucceed kupigana na ufisadi katika taifa letu la Kenya.
All right, those are older members of parliament. Well, they are still in Jubilee, but they are older member of parliament, or AKA Tangatanga, speaking against the DCI, the KRA, and others. Taking your SMSs on 111, 444, 111. Some of you are saying togetherness. We social media involving matters that affect us in terms of voting. I think that SMS came in as a half. I am George from Rwai. It's time for youth to join politics. We need new and energetic blood who actually understand the problems we as youth face. I just love this show. Thank you very much. Somebody else on Facebook, you're saying, that is at Switch TV. They're saying tipping point. It's on high demand hapa Facebook. Asante sana. That is Ambenge Oyando. Paul Karaoke. I have my eyes on the show. Ask Robert, what happened from being a critic of Uhuru Kenyatta to singing political hosannas to the head of state? That is a question thrown direct to you.
You know, I don't know political or something. Kenyans are very funny. The youth are very funny. And the youth need to get into comedy.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know singing political, but because I've been supporting the handshake. The point is we are supporting the handshake. And you want the president...
It's not so much about Uhuru Kenyatta.
No, you let the president finish his term.
Oh dear.
Let the president finish his term. You know, let the president finish his term. You know, it's
the same ODM that in 2017.
But it's funny that the people who voted for him 3 times are now more angry with him. And he told you, boss.
Why do you think that's the case?
You know, because people are seeing the reality now. And now they want us to drown with them. We drown the country. We go back to the politics of antagonizing each other, fighting. Then we get into 2022.
Yes.
We will be killing each other. We are not going that way again. We are not going to demonstrate. Oh, you know, whatever happens in 2022, you will never see ODM demonstrating again in the street for you. That Uda is going to do that one for us this time. Uda is going to be chanting Akiyetu.
Yes.
It's not ODM.
I ask them whether they support the idea. This is from Shira Muigai. Ask them whether they support the idea that elected leaders should have a degree as a prerequisite before vying. Do you think we should have a degree for an MCA or an MP?
I think it's important to also underscore what is the purpose of a degree or education for that matter. Education for a long time has been about mass production of Kenyan citizens, where we have people who are unable to ideate, unable to think outside the box. And for me, I stand firm that our education system needs to be overhauled. It needs to be more practical. It needs to be able to appreciate.
You're not
that.
answering the question.
Hold on,
Georgie.
I'm
You're
getting
not.
there. I'm getting there. It needs to be able to empower people to think, because you've mentioned that I've built a career of talent. Yes, for the last 17 years. I've not used.
How old are you?
35. All right.
Started singing when you were
So
15 or something.
I started singing when I was 17, straight out of Form 4. I've only used my, and I have a master's degree, a global executive MBA from USIU. I've only used my degree once, where I was going to pitch to a board for a consultancy. All the other work I've done for brands in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Nigeria, I've done productions in India. I've been all over the place. I've never been asked for a degree. What I've been asked for is my resume. Resume meaning, what have you done? And what can you do today? And that is what leadership is about. So you can look at it differently. You can look at it like, yes, we need people who are intelligent, of course. But what is the gauge of intelligence? Are we intelligent because we speak good English? Are we intelligent because we spent hours doing a PhD? Or are we intelligent because, as you've said before you asked this question, we understand what people need, we can relate to people, and we have solutions. So what is intelligence? So that is the conversation, rather than what is a degree, what is not a degree. That is notwithstanding.
Robert,
Yes.
do you support what some members of parliament, they were saying that in parliament, but in Senate they have said no. Do you support the idea of having MCAs MPs, governors, deputy governors, the president, deputy, having a degree?
I support the idea of leaders having degrees, but I also don't support the ideas of all the leaders having degrees, because degree is not the criteria you can use to gauge on leadership. If you were to ask me one size which can fit all, I would recommend that all leaders who want to go into public service go for NYS training for 9 months. Because 9 months in NYS, you're going to learn public service. You're going to chom alarm. You're going to be burning tarmac.
You went there yourself?
9 months. No, I've helped enough boys to go there to change their lives from crime to being better people and now law-abiding patriots. It makes you patriotic.
NYS training.
Yes, 9 months training. If you ask me today to stop and to wait,
you can.
I can
yourself.
go. I'll go. 9 months I'll go. But hata kama nitakofia, I want to change lives. This is not, I'm not going to solve my problem. I want to solve people's problems. Because I'm seeing people are suffering. You know, they need not to suffer like this.
Jim, a conversation that we've had before, and I know you are of the view that we should not be having degrees. You are learned yourself. Why wouldn't you want our leaders to be learned, those who are learned, to vie for these posts?
If there's someone with a degree and wants to vie, let them vie. However, we cannot marginalize the largest, because only about 1% or thereabout of a very small percentage of this population have degrees. So you want to marginalize a majority of our population from accessing leadership positions on the virtue of they do not have access to degrees. Why don't they have degrees? Because we have not expanded the education system and access to it, because they do not have the money to go through it.
Yes.
So they are not getting into leadership because of structural reasons that we have created. But number two, that very law infringes on the rights of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. They cannot vie for any position in this country. A 21-year-old or a 22-year-old cannot vie for an MCA position if that law is passed because they do not have a degree. So that cannot be a law that as young people we can support. That is a law that marginalizes us further. So if we want to allow young people to get involved and run and get into elective positions, the degree is not a reason. As I have always said, the qualifier for leadership is your ability to influence. It is character. It is integrity. That for me are the qualifiers and the hard to serve.
Yes.
Every other thing are non-issues.
Let's get to some national politics now. Robert, you've heard what Tanga or UDA members of parliament are saying. Do you really think that the DCI is being used to target Tanga members?
I don't think that the DCI is being used to target Tanga members. You know, like, what do Tanga members have?
Oh God.
What do Tanga members have? You know, what have they done wrong? They should ask themselves. If you're attracting bees, ask yourself, have you packed yourself with honey?
Why?
You know, there's something on them. There's something on them. There's a reason why these people are coalescing together. You know, they're ganging up on the government because there's something they did and somebody did for them. Yeah? They looted the country. The DCI is going after the loot.
Are you saying it's only Tanga members of parliament or former Jubilee members of parliament that are looting the country?
They looted the country. You know, I can mention for you.
Kensa was here, but
without,
they were not
if it was not for the lawsuits, I can mention for you 10 Tanga leaders and what they did.
You have the dossier.
I have the dossier.
Give us the dossier.
From DCI.
Give us the dossier.
From the DCI. No, I don't want it to be shut down. Somebody can sue you to your last cent.
Davidson.
Yes.
Those are your friends. You've actually told me those are your friends. And you've seen what they've said. Allah is saying here that they looted the country. Do you believe that?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not conversant with this information. In fact, I've just thrown my hat into the ring. I'm not aware of who has stolen what money. But Kenyans have always been talking about corruption, right? Yeah. And from time immemorial. What we need to think about is, why do people loot? What systems can be put in place to prevent people from looting? How can we create a better government? How can we set systems that by those who Robert is saying have looted? How can they set up a system? For me, I cannot say who has looted because I do not know. I cannot say yes or no. I have no idea. What I can also say to the DCI is that they need to focus on truth rather than political witch hunting. That is so important. I'll give you an example. I did, I was participating in a movement called Unlock Our Country movement. NIS were deployed at our press conference. NIS have the time to disperse a press conference by artists. By artists. This was even before I declared that I'm going to vie on a UDA ticket. And it's so strange that the government sees everybody who is against it as somebody who is a crook or somebody who is, you know, a bad person trying to do bad things to destabilize the government. No, we're calling out the government for its ills. And that is what democracy is about. That we have the right as citizens of this republic, because this is a republic, isn't it? We have the right to criticize our government, to call them out and say, hold on, what you're doing is wrong. Hautuwezi fungia inchi, ukitufungia inchi, tutakula nini? Unataka si wote tukue wezi ama majangili. How are we going to earn? You understand?
Jim, you can be the arbitrator here. These two gentlemen are saying, he's saying those are looters. He's saying, no, we need to use DCI in the right way. Which way?
I mean, we cannot sit here and enable individuals to use institutions of government to settle personal scores. We saw it in 2017, 2013, when ODM were on the receiving end. We saw it in 2017 when kids were being murdered, young people were being murdered, and the police, some of them were being used, you know, and told, go to place X, Y, and Z, and we still have people who have those wounds. So we cannot create an enabling environment where such institutions as the DCI, as the police, are being used to settle, and the ESCC are used to settle personal scores. We do not have any evidence. Any one of them who is being persecuted, as they call it, I mean, persecution is such a bigger word. I wish they were around in 1992 and before. They would have perhaps understood the meaning of persecution, or in the times of Jesus. But we cannot allow that leaders who are seen not to be supporting or anti-establishment to then institutions are used to and we must guard that. For me, that the independence of institutions must be guarded. If there are valid reasons why they are being hunted, then that's fine. I mean, we've seen how many of them have cases in court that are actually substantial cases and that are being prosecuted. Very few of them. So you can tell these are funny games of politics that are being played. And that for us is, if we continue enabling that, then in 2022, when the police will be deployed in place X, some people will be saying, but when we were being hunted, like right now, ODM members are saying, when we were being killed in 2017, the rest of you are celebrating and saying that the police must do their work. So now we will keep quiet. So as a country, we must set that bar of institutions must remain independent.
What is wrong is wrong.
What is wrong is wrong, and what's right is right. So this, where you support it when it benefits you and oppose it when it does not benefit you. Some of the people crying that they're being persecuted today were celebrating loudly, and we can show tweets and videos of them celebrating loudly back then. So until we get that consistency from our leaders, we might be in this for a while.
Let's talk about BBI. It's a case in court, and we will not touch into the items they are in. But Robert, day 3, and tomorrow is the last day of BBI hearing. What's your take on those 3 days?
I think I've seen great points, you know, made by the appellants.
Yeah.
The president's team, the IBC, you know, the representative from ODM and so on. They presented a very valid case. You know, the arguments. You know, the immunity of the president, and also the fact that the people can change the constitution and who really initiated the process.
Yes.
Which is Mheshimiwa Junet
So they're the people who had the handshake in 2018.
Yes, you know people are saying, if today I organize something, an event in Nyanza, and I call the president, then you'll say the president is the one behind the project.
So the BBI belongs to Junet Mohammed.
Junet Mohammed and Dennis Owero.
There's a tweet I'm trying to get that you had said earlier today.
Yes.
I'll get it.
Okay.
In a serious court, Supreme Court, this is Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi. Yes. I'm sure that's the person you are referring to. Has no place.
Yes.
None of the clients were interested in him, even for free.
Yes.
He represented the president in 2013.
Yes.
In 2017.
Yes.
But by and large, we have seen him supporting the deputy president. Do you think if he was supporting the president, he would have been...
Well, the deputy president also needed lawyers. but they didn't see him fit.
DNG, your take on 3 days of trial.
Mimi sipendi vipindi. That is what I can say. Sipendi vipindi. I cannot support that kind of thing. Now listen, we have spent so much money on this BBI. Who is it benefiting? Couldn't we have reprioritized that money elsewhere? You understand? During a time where there's a
20
pandemic,
billion.
businesses are on their knees. Isn't that money that can be used to uplift those businesses that have collapsed? Because the list of businesses that have collapsed is phenomenal. And also,
The manner in which Allah is looking at you.
the list of people who have lost their livelihoods as a result of us taking money that could have been deployed to alleviate poverty and to deal with this crisis. Let me not even touch healthcare. For example, did you know that NHIF does not cover COVID-19? Did you know that? So what does that mean? We're spending so much money on BBI that is not helping anybody, yet we could have injected funds into NHIF so that the ordinary Kenyan, the mwananchi, the citizen who is desperate for this kind of healthcare can be able to afford, or can be able to use that card where his or her parent or himself or herself has been admitted into ICU to swipe and go home without a bill. But now we have people who are perhaps thriving, who are on their knees in debt, loans, harambe, just because they have no money. So it's going round and round, and all these issues are correlated. But our government's priority is BBI. Our government's priority is creating
The
jobs.
government which you are in.
Hold on. Me, I'm not
Deputy
in any
President
government.
that
I've
is
not
in
been
that.
gazetted.
Your party leader is in that
But
government.
I'm here in my capacity as Davidson Gibwini, DNG, MCM Tarajiwa, Woodley, Kenyatta Golf Course Ward 2022.
Hold that thought. Robert,
Yes.
you are a huge proponent of BBI.
Yes.
Do you agree with those sentiments?
No, I don't. BBI is going to change lives, and wherever the deputy president opposes anything, please run away from him, because he's going to. This constitution is so much defending.
How is it going to benefit young people?
And
don't tell me the 7 years tax.
We don't need that. We just need work.
Tell me, how is it going to benefit young people?
People don't see the opportunity created when we change the laws and we open up the space for everybody to feel that they belong. Because the country, where do you come from? We came from a place where some people thought that they might never get a share of the equal share of the leadership of this country. But now the president is bringing it up and saying, you guys, he brought the conversation about the 2 tribes, and he said that it doesn't have to be the 2. Can we now expand it further and say that all these other tribes, even if you elect an Ogiek today, he can be the leader, the president of this country called Kenya. You see, this is where BBI comes in. Inclusivity, and if you don't put
inclusivity. People are creating positions for several people.
It's not for.
How is that inclusive?
If you elect a lie, it's not about a lie. This is why because the leaders in this country have made positions about themselves. It should not be that way. If you are elected, you are serving the people. You are not serving yourself and your family. This is the problem. We need to remove these people from the public service. Let people go to private service. And if you gave me a chance to be the MP, I will push for bills. Let
me just be on your own. We are creating 17 new political constituencies.
What is wrong with that?
Let me ask you.
Yes.
You have seen our wage bill.
Yes.
You have seen the amount of money the loans, the debts that we have.
Yes.
Do we have the capacity to have additional 70 members of parliament? Do we? You want to be an MP?
How much is an MP paid? How much is an MP paid? 1 million,
1 million,
1.2 million.
The allowances,
it represents how many people? Let's say an average 150,000 people in a constituency.
But do we need that?
We need that.
Why?
1 million to represent the issues of 150,000. What is wrong with that?
We have an MCA.
We have an MCA.
In a constituency.
These people have levels. Levels of representation. You cannot say that an MCA and MP are doing the same thing. The MP, the MCA, we might argue on the senator and the women rep, who are all the MPs of the county, doing the same thing. But we cannot say the MP and the MCA represent the same group of people.
Let me go to DNG. He wanted to respond. Respond to that.
I feel like devolution needs to be given a real chance, and I stand by that. Devolution has really worked. If you go to some counties where there was nothing before devolution.
Yes.
Now there are hotels.
Yes.
There are people who've set up businesses and who are also employing people from that area.
Yes.
So there's a lot of development. I feel like this constitution and the spirit of this constitution was phenomenal. We came from a dark past. We all know about that dark past. We don't need to belabor that point here. Now, the spirit of the constitution was about devolution. And what does devolution mean? Resources trickling down, you know, to that level that he's talked about, the MCA level, the ward, which is that small area, you know, that is the bottommost level of government.
Okay.
All right.
So hold that thought, because I'm being told we don't have a lot of time, and I want to bring in Jim very quickly. Jim, we've heard from UDA members of parliament. Nowadays I call them UDA because that party is what they're saying they're going to run with.
You have to say UDA. You have to say UDA.
UDA, UDA. They have said
Kazi.
time and time again, they have said that we are creating position for few people through the BBI. Do you hold that thought?
I've said it here in the past. I think there are very few clauses that are progressive in the BBI document, like injecting money into the counties. I think those are progressive. And there are a couple of clauses that are neither here nor there. They are not as important. If they were there, they would not. I think what we are witnessing in courts today, Fred, we take it for granted. As a country, to have legal brains sitting at that level of the courts to discuss matters of the place of the people, the place of the president, and that the ruling of the court will be binding to all. Those are not things that are seen in Africa every single day. Those are things. Those are very progressive moments in our country that we must appreciate.
Okay.
And the decision of that court will change tremendously the trajectory that the next president and the next members of parliament will take.
Few SMSs coming in through 111 444 111. Bwana Robert, Raila was Kibera's MP from 1992 to 2013. What did your leader do at that time? You'll answer them on Twitter.
No.
Fred,
Why is Twitter there, Vasco?
What did he do all that time? Kibera is still a slum.
No. Raila started the slum upgrade project.
How did that project go?
Kibaki snatched it away from him.
I'm happy to see my high school cube mate clearly articulating politics. Kudos, Jim India. That is Orinda Robert. Sante sana. All right. Guys, I'll give you 1 second. Just tell us where, because you are young people, I am young, where are you vying your MP so that our viewers can relate?
I'm vying for the ticket of Nyando MP in 2022.
Nyando MP 2022.
Yes.
Yourself?
I'm vying for MCA, Woodley Kenyatta Golf Course Ward, Nairobi County.
All right. There are two things that are important in politics. The first is money. And I can't remember what the other one is, by Paul Wilson. The views described on this show are individual views and do not portray the views of Switch TV. Until next Thursday, my name is Frederick Mwitiriri. My sign language interpreter is Michael Maidya. Do have yourself a good night. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for having time for us.
Asante sana.